Hello everyone. This is always super awkward to make these videos and hopefully it's working, but I did want to take a few moments and talk about a new update that you will notice on the standard assessment, clinical assessment form. So whether you're an IRT, which I think is 1001, or if you're an outpatient, which is 1028, there's one tiny little change that I wanted to kind of go over with you all. So I'm going to share my screen here so we can talk about it. You'll notice there's no change here on the first precipitating event or criminal history. Did want to just remind everyone that it is important to respond to every single field. It probably seems pretty repetitive, but if you do check the behavioral health rules and or the scope of work, this is required information. Where the change really comes in, I'm going to have to click through because I'm not 100% sure which field it's in. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see what's in here. There we go. Okay, so it's the SUD formulation. Glad we figured that out together. You'll see a lot more check boxes. So let's talk a little bit about this and the reason behind it, probably more importantly. We received some feedback from community partners, most specifically probation officers, that kind of said, hey, when we send our outpatient clients to you for an evaluation, we get the evaluation back. The 1028 does send a carbon copy to the supervising user, but if you're the supervising user and not a clinician, it can be kind of challenging to understand what you all as the clinician recommended. And so we wanted to make that more clear. We want to be very responsive and say, hey, thanks for sending your client to us. We assess them, and based on these things that they reported, this is how we are prepared to match those treatment needs with our interventions. Furthermore, and probably more specifically with DUI level 2-4 plus, the supervising users wanted a little bit more of an understanding of what we were recommending initially for these clients to engage in care. So let's talk a little bit about what that might look like. This is a test client. And so if I'm doing this case formulation and let's say the client meets criteria for alcohol use disorder, again, reminding that this case formulation is really the spot where we're justifying clinically the diagnosis. So if I'm applying the diagnosis of, let's say we go up to our little Lego guy and let's give this guy a diagnosis of, go to the quick ad, alcohol dependence. But let's also give him a diagnosis. Let's say that I do a GAD-7 and I really feel like he meets criteria for generalized anxiety disorder, and I apply those. This means it will automatically populate. So if I actually go to my print preview button right now, even though I haven't filled out anything on this, you'll notice that my diagnoses have already applied. So anytime that you see that weird percentage coding thing, it means that the diagnosis, as long as you've added it, is going to auto-populate. So I can leave that alone. But then I'm going to write something in here like, client meets criteria for above diagnosis as evidenced by report of, now it's a test to see if I remember my 6 criteria for clinically diagnosing alcohol use disorder. Let's say report of increased tolerance, use while physically hazardous. Obviously, this guy has had +4 DUIs. I'm going to pretend. I can't type. Jeez Louise. Use has affected relationships, occupation, and ability to fulfill role requirements. And then we'll say additionally, it appears to meet criteria for generalized anxiety use disorder as evidenced by screening score of +7. Again, I cannot type. On GAD, we'll put copy on file, assuming I had given that screening. fear of impending doom, heightened arousal, inability to join social functions despite desire to do so. Level of care is medium based on limited protective factors. We'll say client is currently housed in residential program, and treatment is warranted at this time. No SIHI plan or intent at time of session. We'll reassess as needed and or in 6 months. This is an outpatient plan. I will also be happy to send you the case formulation guide that has a lot of this in there. We can also add it to here. There's a lot of just clickable functions. So if I didn't want to write it off the top of my head and I wanted to literally go, these are the different functionalities that I'm seeing, I can click those in there. All right, the assessments utilized. If I'm doing a face-to-face assessment with a client, I know that it's a client interview. Hopefully I gave them the mental health screens as well. If I'm looking at the source from probation, from community corrections, I'm going to be looking at that. Roman and I are working tirelessly on getting the CARs implemented well. Hope to have an update for you on that soon. But if I had used the CARs, I would click there. If I click one of these things, most specifically the source, the CARs, and the mental health screens, it is really important that a copy of those are in the clinical record, because an auditor will come and look at this and say, oh, you referenced the GAD-7 up here, and you put the mental health screens. I want to see those. If we can't produce them, it would just be kind of awkward that we reference them in our report. So please make sure that if you reference in your report and you do it, it's in the clinical record. All right, now I'm working my way through this. Now it's my job as a therapist to go in and say, all right, knowing that all of this is true, what do I recommend for this person? And let's say we're going to recommend substance abuse groups and individuals at this time. I'll put peer services too. Then we want to get more specific here. We want to get really, really specific about not just this general modality that you're recommending, but what exactly, what intervention. So with this guy, let's say that he's going to be doing individual therapy. He and I have had a conversation hypothetically, and I'm going to put him in SSC. And let's do seeking safety, and we're going to do a peer group inside out. All right, what is super important? This is the piece that's like the most important part of this video. So circle and star this, is that here are the treatment recommendations and assigned treatments. I really need you to put comments. I really, really need there to be comments that go back to the PO that explain why you did this and how long you're expecting it to take. That's one thing that the POs really requested. So I would ask that you put something like, due to client's report of severe anxiety, individual therapy should focus on historical activating events, which this writer feels contributes to symptomology. Client has been referred to, we're going to put Megan Outlaw. She gets a shout out here. LCSW. Oh, do you see how I almost put LPC there? That was even like natural. That was, I apologize for that. And I'm an LPC or an LCSW too, not an LPC. Apparently I want to be an LPC today. For EMDR treatment, course of care at this, or not course, length of care, my bad. At this time is unknown. Additionally, client has been referred to SSIC to address criminal conduct and phase 1 is 12 weeks in duration. We'll say monthly reports to be submitted to supervising users as client progresses. Something like that. Seeking safety has been recommended, but due to client work schedule, he has not been assigned at this time. You might want to say something like this writer feels this group may be beneficial or will be. You're confident in what we recommend. Due to, you know, co-occurring disorder, you can put alcohol use plus anxiety, and then say client recommended engage with peer services to aid in reaching recovery related goals, referred and assigned to Inside Out. Duration of group is open-ended. Something like that. This is perfect. This gives us supervising user a good understanding of why you applied, what you applied, what your kind of plan is to address this client. Let's actually also assume that in this evaluation, you recognize, whoa, this client has a lot of family marital needs and family counseling would be recommended. You'll notice that up here, we definitely have family therapy. To my knowledge, we don't do family therapy at ATC. If we are doing family therapy, just let me know. Not really something that we market. Not necessarily saying it's not within our scope of practice, it's just not what we do. So we typically refer that out. So you could say due to levels, you could say due to report of family conflict and historical domestic violence concerns, client has been referred to family therapy with, we're going to give Richard a shout out here. Richard Cooper, he is an LPC at Common Sense Therapy, ROI signed by client and referral sent. This office will coordinate care and apply treatment hours towards 4+ requirements. But then there's going to take a little bit extra time to fill this out. If there are phrases that we find fit the most and are helpful, please let Roman know. Do not try to add them yourself. Please let Roman know if there are certain phrases that you feel would be helpful in here, and he can add them to our phrase list. But that's really the big change, is that we want to be able to give our supervising users and our partnering agencies more information about why we're doing what we're doing. If they're going to ERT, and this is just an ERT assessment, we know the programming in ERT. So again, this part would say the same. I really would like to challenge every single one of you to beef up your case formulations. I'll be sending them back if they're not beefed up, and just say, please beef up case formulation. And but if they're going to ERT, then you don't have to put anything under treatment recommendations outside of, what's in ERT there. Oops, not that at all. Intensive residential. And then you would literally just select IRT. You do not have to go click all of these buttons. There's an IRT button. And then you could just put, let me delete that. You could just put 90-day IRT program. That is it. That's all you have to put if they're going to ERT. So that's easy. The only other thing is that if there's something that you're assigning them to that is not in this list, just select others. So if you wanted to recommend that they do, oh goodness, Brittany, you're going to get angry with me. What is that group that you do that is for peers? Smart recovery. Smart Recovery, peer-based group. You could probably put when it meets. I'm just totally making this up. In day room, again, the more information, the more clear we are, the more clear we are with our recommendations and what we've assigned the clients to, the more clear that probation, parole, our partnering entities can help support this. You could do that. Trying to think, you could do recovery yoga. Again, I'm just 7 a.m. an MRT room, whatever that looks like. All right, other than that, everything else is the same. Wanting to remind you all of this beautiful print preview button so you can see what your report is going to look like before actually releasing it. Obviously, if I were looking at my print preview button, I would say, dang, Sarah, there's a lot of blank spaces. I hear Stacy telling me something about MRT, no blank spaces. I'm going to tell you the same thing in your study about no blank spaces. All right, well, I hope that this short little video was helpful in some regards. Let me know if you need any more clarification or have any thoughts or ideas. This new update to our SUD eval is set to go live on Friday. So there's a couple days for you guys to all watch this video and reach out with any questions. If there is nothing we need to amend, I saw a couple spelling errors, we'll get that taken care of. If there's nothing else, we'll see you guys later. Bye.